Hello! In this video we're going to build the brains of the Helicopter Cockpit drone rig by taking the DJI Controller apart, connecting the potentiometers and making the metal front panel. In the first video in the series I adapted parts from my original Flightsim rig that I used to fly X-Plane and turned that joystick into the helicopter cyclic control for the new drone rig. All my previous Flightsim rigs have been based on real full-size aircraft controls to get the ultimate realism. So I was really happy to find this excellent Playseat on eBay for just £50. It looks great and it saved me building the whole rig from scratch. Anyway, back to the control panel, and we'll start by dismantling the DJI RC-N3 controller. Not the easiest of jobs, as it's difficult to take apart without damaging the plastic case. So first of all, we need to take out the 4 screws that are hidden beneath the rubber corner bits and under the joystick holders. And remove the lead. Then, with a sharp knife, we start levering the case open, being careful not to remove a finger in the process. As I said, not the easiest of jobs. The controller obviously wasn't designed for people like me trying to take it apart. So once we're inside, we need to lever off the 2 little 5-pin connectors, one for each joystick. And then unscrew the 4 screws for each stick. Quick tea break. Hold on a minute. Let's do something a bit more exciting. Go flying. So I made a decision not to use either of these 2 buttons on the prototype rig. I'm just going to use the important ones here, the power button, the mode selector and the return to home. The middle one, of course, switching between cine, normal and sport modes when you're up in the sky. And here's the video record button and the camera tilt control, which we're going to take out now. Starting with 4 more screws, take the metal plate off, taking care not to make a mess with the thermal paste. Another 3 screws and the 3-pin connector. But we need to take the battery retaining clamp off as it's on top of this lead. Right, now we can take this out. Taking the camera tilt control out, and you can see the miniature potentiometer for moving the drone camera up and down. The next stage is to take the record button out with its 2-pin connector, and again the battery retaining clamp which we need to replace. So now we've got the DJI controller in its disassembled state. We need to start measuring up to make the front panel for the helicopter cockpit. We need holes for the 3 buttons and the 4 LEDs, which you can see here on the back of the DJI panel. First off, we take a piece of 2mm aluminium and start placing the main components to get an idea of the design we need. Measure everything and get ready for cutting the panel and punching the holes, hopefully with all the bits in the right place. I'm actually using a bench press that produces neater holes than drilling, but of course you can drill everything if you want. And now we're going to bend the panel with a bossing mallet. So that's not too bad. Back to the controller, and we've got the cyclic control there for moving left, right, back and forwards. Then we've got the collective here for up and down, and also the rudder for turning the drone left or right, plus the tiny little control for the camera. So each one of the main potentiometers is 10K. As you can see here, 103, 10,000 ohms, plus B, which means it's linear. And here I've got the potentiometers I'm going to use with the metal joystick. As you can see, it says B for linear and 10K. And these are going to be connected to some 1mm pitched JST connectors to match the connectors within the DJI controller. Here are the 3 pins on this potentiometer that correspond with these 3 pins on this axis and these 3 pins on that axis. C1 is the connection for the push button that I'm not actually going to use in this design. Ground or 0 volts connection is here, 3.3 volts here, and then the wiper connection, the central one for this axis, is here. And the wiper for the other axis is here. 2 potentiometers will be connected to one 5-pin JST connector. Again, underneath the metal plate, we have the 2-pin JST connector we're going to use for the push button to start and stop video recording in the drone controller. And we had the wheel in the top of the controller here to control the camera tilt, which is connected to this smaller potentiometer here. This one is actually 2.3K. I didn't have the right value potentiometer, so I soldered a resistor across the 10K one to bring the resistance down quite a bit. Now I've soldered all the leads and connectors on and powered up the DJI unit, we can do a little test. With the camera control first, if I rotate the spindle, the camera moves up. And down. And the push button starts and stops recording. Well, that works. Now we move on to the metal panel. I'm putting some sticky letters on and some black paint. And now begins the slightly tricky job of taking sticky lettering off sticky paintwork. Oh well, the letters are rather big and it's not a great job. It's turned out a bit of a mess really. I suppose it'd be fine from a distance. Now it's dry, we put the controls into our beautifully made panel using the original buttons taken out of the DJI controller. And glue them, but not too much so that they do actually move when you press them. So here's the completed panel, and I made a simple metal bracket to hold the DJI controller in place. And all the buttons line up in the same position that they were on the DJI handheld unit. A lovely panel complete with rubbish paintwork. Oh well, making a new professional looking control panel will be a good excuse to make another video. Speaking of which, there are more videos on the way, so feel free to subscribe to the channel. And next time we're going to construct the rudder controls for the helicopter drone rig. So see you then.